I hope that someone gets my. I hope that someone. I hope that someone gets my message in a bottle.
Message in a bottle.
Oh yeah, we're sending out an SOS because we cannot sing.
Wow. See, that was our, I think, 30 seconds of just disastrous karaoke.
Yes, it
which
was.
Which should have been entertaining.
It should have been entertaining. In fact, at the very end, the way the lick sounded at the end, it almost sounded like you were about to transition into Van Halen. Ain't talking about love.
That's true.
The way went, and all of a sudden, yeah.
Unbelievable.
That would have been a cool fade right into Van Halen, you know.
See, that would have been great improv. That would have been a moment of musical genius.
Yes.
See?
Yes.
See, that's one of the things that's happening here that we haven't really acknowledged is we're nurturing our musical creative energy. You know what I'm saying? We are. I mean, and it really culminates every year around Christmas time when we do Jingle Bells.
There you go.
Hey, so our friends, IoT Coffee Talk friends, welcome. And you know, if you thought, and if you think our intros are bad, just remember, we're just trying to do a little bit better than Wayne's World.
A little bit better.
And if you thought musical intros were bad for any talk show, just watch Wayne's World.
Yeah. Wayne's World. Party time. Excellent.
Right. And are we trying to be an established and polished, program here? No. Right.
Was Nirvana polished? No.
Grungy, dirty, nasty.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's us.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. And yet we're geniuses when it comes to IoT and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
Digital stuff.
The nerdy
ones
crap.
And zeros going from one place to another.
Yeah.
And making sense of it. Whatever that means.
You know what's really funny is Marc typically is a very talkative guy. But I love how you just sit there and smile you just have this huge grin on your face. And
I'm just now my brain is like connecting things. Like I was coming from solving some issues, sending Laura one messages and like this sending a message in a bottle. I was like, what the hell? But then I left you on this philosophical discussion. I think it's more interesting that.
Yeah, you know what? That's interesting that song drew you back to LoRaWAN messaging.
So maybe is that what we think of? LoRaWAN? We're sending messages in a bottle?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, throw it out in the ocean.
Sending messages over helium.
The universe.
Yeah, exactly.
It's super interesting. This week, last week, I made a pull request on my repository for the Things Network gateways to support the Raspberry Pi Zero. So that means that like a 10, well, it does, I don't know the chip shortage how it's affecting the Raspberry Pi Zero. But now with the Raspberry Pi Zero 2, you have like a 20 or between $10 to $20 device that can become a LoRaWAN gateway, just in a simple click. So that's and I got like hundreds of likes on LinkedIn on that, and I was like,
wow,
super that's surprised really awesome. About that,
yeah, because a lot of people are complaining. I've spoken to some folks who are not exactly big fans of Helium, but they're really pissed off that there's a chip shortage and the Helium gateways, demand for the Helium gateways is really sucking up the existing supply. And there's people who actually want to deploy solutions in the field, right? Not just host a network that are left there hanging. I mean, I'm just hearing a lot more complaints like that. But it would be, if you can have like devices from that can perform a gateway function or support the Helium gateway, and you can just deploy it with software, that's kind of cool. That is what you're talking about, right?
I'm not speaking about Helium gateways. I'm speaking about LoRaWAN gateways.
I know you're talking about the things network, but you know what? It provides an alternative too, right? Because there's a lot of people out there stuck waiting for the same chips that are right now being, used in the supply chain for Helium gateways. I mean, no, this is something that people are citing as a problem. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think that everyone is suffering the chip shortage anyways. So I'm not sure.
No.
Like a company or two companies are accelerating and others not. I'm not sure that's happening, but yeah.
No, but my point is this: is that you're doing something really cool that can create some options for people who might not have an alternative because they haven't really thought of, oh, hey, here's a cool little way for you to use a Raspberry Pi to maybe as a proxy for what you were looking for. You know what I'm saying? That's all I'm saying. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to celebrate your genius, dude. Don't be mad.
I'm gonna celebrate you, baby.
But but I don't like to celebrate telling shit about other people.
Yeah.
This is what you did. So let's make a win-win relationship on IoT. Everyone
let's have a win-win. Let's lift everybody up. Let's give you what you need. Give you what you need. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Why not? Why not try to?
Yeah. You're right. You're right. Absolutely. So I saw a couple of news items since we were last here related to chips. Intel announcing a big plant in Ohio, near Columbus, Ohio. But that's some big news. People in Ohio are probably really happy about that. I saw yesterday what is their name? Last name is Barra, the CEO of General Motors, announcing $7 billion investment in Michigan. More stuff. We've talked about both Ford and GM spending billions to try to catch up to Tesla. And so that's pretty interesting. And you've even heard GM talking about maybe they should have their own foundry. I mean, we're seeing people going, oh, I need to do maybe vertical integration and control all this stuff myself, the way Apple does, so that they don't get caught. But it's a double-edged sword when people try to do everything in the supply chain themselves. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
But I can certainly feel the pain. If you go to any car dealership in the U.S. and they're lucky if they have like 2 or 3 new cars to sell.
Yeah. Probably they are bought by Stephanie, right? All the new cars available in the U.S.
Stephanie buys everything that's available. Yes.
And it has to be big. It has to be Texas big.
Texas big, Texas.
No. I'm serious, dude. When I was doing a lot of consulting for the oil and gas industry, I would land in Houston, and it was like the funniest thing. Everywhere else, so my clients, they would, they didn't allow us to go through our, let's say, IBM or PwC, what do you call it, travel system to book vehicles and stuff. We had to go through their system, and their system was totally hilarious because there was this whole little spiel in the beginning that would talk about the merits of renting the biggest car.
Wow.
I was, our policy, the firm's policy or the company's policy was you should rent the cheapest. You have a certain limit. These guys, the oil companies would encourage you to rent the most gas guzzling, most expensive car.
That brings more gas.
I was like, what the hell? And I got really used to driving these really small cars because I don't like big cars, right? So I ended up getting stuck in this Hummer, which I was paying $150 a day for.
No way.
And did
it have Longhorns on the front of the hood?
It had a belt buckle, a gigantic rhinestone belt buckle in the front. It was the most hilarious. I remember just like thinking,
That's
man,
awesome.
this is just
That's hilarious.
so weird. And I hated driving that thing. I mean, you really have to get used to driving something that big.
Yeah.
You know.
You know what? But it sounds like the perfect car for Marc. You know.
Yeah.
The
Oh yeah.
Yeah, next time I can fly to the US, I will try.
Yeah. They have to make a special version of business class for Marc because even those lie flat are not big enough for him.
Yeah. No kidding.
You know, and I really do think that the IoT giant should move and he should live in Texas, actually, because that's kind of that fits him. That's where he belongs. You know, cowboy boots. You know, giant big hat. You know,
Stetson.
Yeah, driving a big old jacked up pickup truck that's lifted up way up high. You know, like a monster truck.
Yeah.
Let's do that next time that we meet up in Texas.
Yeah. Absolutely.
If ever. Yeah.
That can be hilarious.
It's gonna happen. I can feel it. It's gonna happen.
Yeah. Let's make it happen.
So Marc, you know, I'm actually really curious because, you know, over the last few episodes, I know, you know, I've been talking a lot of crap. I think
in all the episodes you talk.
Rob kind of talks a bit of crap too. Actually, he talks a lot of crap. But I was wondering what you think, because you keep talking about we should all do the win-win. What do you think is the problem? I mean, as you look at the situation, the IoT community and this whole thing that we're involved with, what do you think what do you see as the problem, the big problems, and then what are you thinking is going to solve it? Do you have any ideas from yesterday or the day before or the year before, or what are your thoughts?
But what do you mean
I'm just curious.
The problem and the solution of what?
No, you said that we need to lift each other up. Aren't we doing that? Or what do you think is the problem? Are we doing things the right way? Are we all supporting each other in the right way? Are we all focusing on the right things? Or
yeah, what I meant it's hey Stephanie, good morning.
Hey Stephanie, how's it going?
What I meant is that I would not create. So okay, let's get a little bit back. So IoT is still not here, sadly, right? We can agree on that.
It's here.
Okay, it's here, or it's just.
Well, what the hell are you doing, man?
So IoT is still not here, sadly. Okay, so it doesn't make any sense that to tell a lot of shit about IoT, endeavors that are succeeding or not. So it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any good to the industry at all. So I live myself these wars of Sigfox against LoRaWAN, for example. And it doesn't make any good for anyone. So it was you are using the Think network or you are using Sigfox, and if you are enemies, and that's not that. Or you're using NB-IoT or you're using Sigfox. It's not every technology works for a specific niche or a specific vertical, and it makes sense for that vertical.
Yeah.
So I can agree or I cannot agree. I cannot trust or I cannot trust blockchain and cryptocurrencies, whatever. But if there is a company that is trying to make IoT successful, I want to be part of that train. Then we can discuss ethically if it makes sense or not what they are doing. We can discuss the parts that we don't like, but I like to think on my goal here is to try to make IoT successful, and to make a project successful. And if there is a company who can maximize the probabilities to make a project successful, I think we shouldn't tell a lot of shit about that. That's my point. But
hey, Stephanie, what do you think?
Success.
Oh, you're stuck in the vortex. You're in the matrix.
Stephanie's in
Oh no!
You're,
One
you're,
second.
In a model. You're in a
she's
model.
With her
she's
wrist.
stuck in the digital divide.
Her wisp is still trying to
Yeah.
close the
She's using
divide.
Helium to connect to Zoom.
Yeah. There must be a
Okay,
bird on her antenna.
I had to switch networks.
Oh.
Wow.
She's her own telecom. She's her own private telecom network operator.
She just switched from doing video over Helium to the Senate.
I switched from satellite to fiber.
Okay.
But do you have Starlink available?
I don't know. Well, I know I used to have satellite internet way back when. That's how I worked. But who did I use? I think it was like a sub company under Dish, but it wasn't really Dish. I forgot what the name of it. Dish
Okay.
Network.
Wow.
Interesting.
So so I know you've told us before you have a wisp, but you got something else too?
No. Well, this is my backup,
Oh, your phone.
and oddly enough, last week was the first time since it's been a long time since I've had an outage. They had a fiber cut. Well, guess what? Not only does the Wisp rely on that fiber, but also my phone.
Yeah.
So I literally was driving in my car, driving to find a network to see if I could get calls out and get my emails. So I'm like, I felt like I was back in the Stone Ages.
The struggle is real. You're driving your Suburban or your Tahoe because the fiber's been cut. You're trying to find a place that has connectivity. That's exactly, yeah.
Yeah. And I didn't know which way to go. Well, I went towards Bandera and it was cut in Bandera. So I was like, bad move. So I went back the other direction and I finally got signal.
Head towards the freeway.
Yeah.
That's all. I mean, I live right off the highway. So
Okay. All right. Wow.
24 hours later, we're back up and running. So it wasn't that bad.
Yeehaw. So a bunch of guys and horses and cowboy boots came out there and fixed that.
So literally, I worked for like 4 hours in the parking lot of Hobby Lobby.
I love it.
Kerrville, Texas.
I love it. I love it. Good old Kerrville, home of the Antlers. Is it Tybee High School at Kerrville? Is that right? The Antlers?
That's right.
Oh,
Johnny Manziel.
They're coming for you. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Oh my God.
I think it's funny out here because, I grew up in the city, so it was all just common football names. But out here, Tybee Antlers, and then in Fredericksburg, it's the Fredericksburg Billies, like Billy Goats.
Yeah. That's just, no. So a far cry from you growing up in Dallas, right?
Yes, very big change.
Yeah. But hopefully you have a positive change, not having to cry over the Cowboys losing every year.
That's for sure. That's horrible. Horrible.
Oh my gosh.
We do have our Spurs here.
Spurs deliver. Good old San Antonio. Or as my grandma, she spent her last years living in Kerrville, she'd call it Santonia. Santonia. So there you go.
What are you guys talking about today? Was there anything that I step into?
Yeah,
Marc is doing some great stuff. He did some pull requests, getting some code on that Raspberry Pi Zero to get it to work with LoRaWAN Things Network, right? To be a gateway. Who would have thought that you could have this little thing be a gateway? That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Got lots of likes, and that's the only currency we deal in these days is likes. Yes.
Horrible.
Retweets and likes appreciated.
We're
Hey, Marc, I saw that you were like taken up for the LoRaWAN community. And then when I joined in here, I kind of heard the tail end of it. Like you were just like, hey, it's pretty much like, don't worry about all that. If it works, it works. It's going to work itself out anyway. The winners and the losers are going to work themselves out anyway. Yeah. Right. And they're going to be different. They might even be different in Europe as they are in the States here.
That's true. Yeah. That's Things Network, right? Same.
That's a good point.
Same issue. Yeah.
And, I just, except for being able to drive to España, which I cannot do, I will be going on a U.S. tour And I know I'll drive right down the coast to La Jolla and come hang out in person with Leonard. And then I'll drive I-10 all the way to Texas and hang out in Texas for a while.
Cool.
In the next
month. we can maybe get Bill, Ryan, and I together. Maybe we can meet up in Austin.
And maybe Bill Pugh. Yeah. No, that's good. Absolutely. If we can beat the traffic in Austin these days, I hear it's pretty stressed out there.
Yeah. That's why everyone in Austin moves out to Fredericksburg.
Isn't that interesting? Fredericksburg is nowhere near Austin.
No.
And yet people are doing it. Because I thought it was weird when I saw a friend of mine who I've known forever, he's a real estate agent in Austin, so he's kind of loving it, I guess. But he's selling stuff. He's selling real estate out in Lockhart and stuff like that to people who are living in Austin. I'm like, that's crazy.
Lockhart barbecue.
Yes. It's worth going to for sure. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I always think because our ranch, is like about 22 miles out of Fredericksburg. And I'm like, that's like 100 miles due west of Austin. And yet you're saying Austin people are moving to Fredericksburg. That's crazy.
Yep.
So anything's possible.
Yeah, that's like Stockton for the Bay Area folks. Back in the Stockton era, it used to be so expensive for most people to live in the Bay Area proper. You had people from a lot of the big companies basically flying people in every day on chartered corporate flights between some of the the Bay Area and some of these cities that are in reasonable proximity by air. Air quotes.
Stockton. That's where everybody wants to live. Stockton, man.
And I know that the real estate prices in Austin have skyrocketed because I was about 5 years ago I was going to buy into one of the big condos downtown, and at that time the price of the condos had gone up 100%, had doubled. And now I'm sure it's through the roof, given all the Bay Area people that are moving into Austin. So, but what we were talking about, is kumbaya, IoT kumbaya, and
Leonard
also talking about this whole win-win thing, and then Marc saying that IoT hasn't happened yet, which I think is a really curious statement, because I would argue it has. It's just that we have to.
Nobody knows it.
We have to. Yeah, nobody knows. I'm curious as to what the hell that means. What does it mean that IoT is not here yet you talk about the industry as if IoT is already here? And that's the interesting thing is, what expectations do you have of IoT?
You're in the matrix.
All of a sudden we reach a certain point where, boom, yes, IoT is here. I'm just curious, because I would say that you're not the only person thinking that, right?
When I think of another Spaniard, our friend Paco, he would always be writing on his blogs, is IoT going to be here this year? No.
But what the hell does that mean?
Will 2016 be the big year for IoT? Maybe. Oh, no.
Almost.
I mean, are we talking about you're having to hit these numbers? Because it's really funny. There's a lot of communities, right? Industry forums and stuff that that are now starting to talk about, how did the analysts get it so wrong? How did the big consulting firms get it so wrong? Okay. And I think it's pretty clear, like Stephanie and I, who are industry analysts, we've never, we've always been on the side of, here, let's kind of clear the cow dung on top of all this, this thing. And let's try to figure out how to really focus on driving value and then get people going up the maturity curve and the value curve. That's what we're all about. And if there's a bit of talking shit, I think that's healthy, because, it's almost like you have to fight bullshit with real shit. Do you know what I'm saying?
Whoa.
And that's the way I look at it. And so, I know that we kind of go back and forth on Helium, but there's a bunch of Helium wussies out there that get sensitive about questions that should be asked that they are not willing to ask, yet they dump their money into Helium. These are fundamental, and it's, I only bring these questions up because I have been monitoring and being involved in the blockchain crypto game for a long time. I've seen a lot of crap. There's very few cryptos that are actually successful. Has a huge list of cryptos that have died off, and there's a lot of people in the industry that don't even know how the economic model works. I mean, some of this stuff, have you read some of this stuff? It's so incredibly esoteric.
No, I don't read it.
I don't understand how anybody understands this. It's like literally some guy came up with, or a group of people came up with, got like this book of technical mumbo jumbo, went through and then called through the most ridiculous concepts, stitched them together, and they got stuff from the finance world, from the techno world, whatever world, and then they created this thing that is so convoluted. I honestly, man, this is my assessment. There, about 99% of the people don't even know what they're talking about, and they don't even understand what they're talking about. Seriously.
Well, when you hear stories about different cryptos getting started out of a joke, how do you take it?
How does that become?
How do you take it seriously, right? And now Elon is saying, "Hey, McDonald's, if you accept Dogecoin, I will eat a Happy Meal."
That's really
so
horrible.
I'm like, it's like fun and games to him, and he's joking. He's like, "Watch this make money,"
Yeah. He's hanging out in there in Starbase, Texas, going, "Yeah, whatever." I got Star.
I'm like, I wish I had that kind of clout.
He's like, they're like going, "Starship, we're meant to fly,"
Right. And even the first Bitcoin, they talk about the pizza. They had to beg someone to deliver a pizza. And you know what the collateral was? The actual payment was fiat. It wasn't the Bitcoin. And so this whole narrative that was the first thing ever purchased with Bitcoin is actually false. It wasn't. They received the Bitcoin.
But to me, Leonard, the fact that there are entities, organizations, businesses out there that are willing to accept some kind of cryptocurrency instead of dollar or pesos or whatever, that to me is like, it's like it's being pushed, even though the masses are like, what is this? We're playing, I'm dabbling in this, I'm investing in this on the side, kind of as a joke myself, right? Because I have like $100 here and $100 but I don't know. I have zero expectations in terms of it making money.
Yeah, and no, but it's like betting on the lottery or buying a lottery ticket. Except what the dollar that you're putting in is not going to go to schools. It's going to go to it's probably going to benefit a crypto whale, who's going to base it, and a bunch of traders who have a lot of influential influence on the market and are going to play the market, like what's happening right now.
But then you say the same on Wall Street trading.
No, it's totally different. No.
It's totally different.
Here's my answer. There's no question. There's speculation on Wall Street. There's also regulation. The other thing that makes a big difference is that let's talk about fiat currencies and comparables, right? To things that people have drawn, analogies to, like Bitcoin, for instance. There is a fundamental underpinning of currencies on the economy. We actually have an economy that uses dollars, and the value of the dollar is the trust in our economy. If our economy, so that means value is created. There's a basis of value. Okay.
Rob.
Why are you shaking your head?
The dollar became a fiat currency when we got off the gold standard in the early 70s. It's based on nothing. It's backed by nothing.
That's not.
It floats. It just floats.
But that's not.
And yet, what is it? And yesterday, Jen Psaki said that we don't really look at the stock market as an indicator of how our economy is doing. It's like, Here we okay.
Well, no. Actually, that there's a little bit of truth in that, because there's a fundamental aspect where we have the fundamental valuation that. Well, they're the fundamentals, and then there's the valuation, right? The fundamentals are an indication of our economy because that's real profits. Those are real revenues, right? The valuation on top, the multiples, those, yeah, I mean, those are they can either be speculative or they can be in line with reasonable returns and, forecast for cash flows from those businesses. So there's material stuff happening there. There's economic value being created that's reflected in the stock price in some fashion. Some of it is fundamental, some of it is speculative. When you look at Bitcoin, there's nothing. The fundamental value of a token. If it's at zero, if it's $0 for a Bitcoin, what is the value of that? What is the value of that token? Let me ask you that.
What is the value of a stone?
What is the value of a stone?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It could be a lot if you dress it up, put lipstick on it, and then you sell it as an NFT.
Mm-hmm.
You sell it as an
NFT. No. What is the value of a stone like gold?
Value of gold? The value of gold is actually, it's a precious it's a precious resource that is scarce.
Why it's a precious resource?
Why? Because it has very unique physical characteristics.
Does someone decide that, right?
No, gold is gold. Okay. You can gold leaf out of it. No.
Someone decided on that long time ago.
Exactly. Someone decided, right?
Well, it's shiny.
Why gold and not silver?
So, okay, what's value?
Well, I can say that a lot of precious metals are used in a ton of products that we use every single day. Oh my God.
Jewelry is a great...
Like electronics.
Besides, the stuff you wear, electronics is one of the biggest resources they get from recycling phones and electronics are all the precious metals that are in these devices.
And the rare earths.
Yeah, Apple harvests tens of millions of dollars in gold every year, recycling their iPhones. So you can't tell me gold is not worth anything. It's worth. I mean,
I didn't say that.
No, but I will tell you, at $0 per Bitcoin, the token is worth nothing. Zero,
Why?
nothing. What's valuable about it? But see, here's the thing. I'm answering the question about why is gold valuable, but you and many others don't want to answer the question of what is the value, the intrinsic value of a Bitcoin token. What is it?
It's
zero.
It's something.
Nothing.
It is. It's got to have some value if you can use Bitcoin to go purchase other items, and you can.
Yeah, and it has a value as an alternative to everything else.
But I don't think you can take I don't think you can take the volume of your Bitcoin and say, now I want my US dollars, because we do rely on that.
Yeah, it's all based on fiat, and what you're investing in there is quite honestly fiat, but. The thing is you're hitting the nail right on the head.
What do you? I'm not familiar with this fiat business. I only know the vehicle, the fiat. Is that is that a term used in Bitcoin, or is it?
No.
Generic?
Fiat. It's like
fiat is it's like a ruler of a country just says. By fiat, I'm stating that from now on.
Okay, I wanted to make sure that it. That makes sense. I wanted to make sure it wasn't some term that I wasn't aware of in the crypto world.
But it's also not just. It's not based on nothing either. It's the fact that it's a currency and Bitcoin is not a currency. Currency is used in our economy. It has like gravity. Do you know what I'm saying? Economic gravity.
Yeah, but the weird thing is that. The weird thing is it is used as a currency right now because people are using it to exchange goods.
And
but what do they have to
there is a value.
So it's just that mainstream into everyday products and services today. but it could be later.
I'll go a little deeper on why the dollar is a fiat currency. Aside, obviously getting off the gold standard is not a good enough answer for you, but that's when it became a fiat and it just started to float. And it was based on what the demand, what people would pay, right? I'll say the other thing that supports the dollar is the US military and nuclear weapons. And this will sound really strange to a lot of people, but let me tell you about all the countries like Argentina and others that default. The whole country goes in default. They can't pay their bills and they devalue the currency. Mexico, boy, no one's devalued their peso more than Mexico has. And so countries have literally just gone completely bankrupt, defaulted on everything. Everything's worthless. People with wheelbarrows full of cash to buy a hamburger, hyperinflation, all that stuff. The only reason that doesn't happen in the U.S. is, well, especially I feel bad for countries that are connected to the EU, unfortunately, because the EU economic deal controls what everybody can do.
Yeah.
And so while America is printing press going full speed ahead, just flooding our market with cash right now, which is a game we play, countries in the EU are not able to do that. And so they kind of get stuck. So we can print money to pay our bills that we owe money on. And it sounds like a bullshit game, and it kind of is. Mm-hmm. Whenever you hear stuff like, well, China owns all these bonds and they could call the note, or all these companies, America can't default like Argentina can, because we'll just print stuff. And then if things got really bad, what would we say? Oh, come and take it. As far as, the US military is the last backstop to say, no, you don't just get it. Even though we played a silly game and we're ridiculous and stupid with our economy, you can't come and do anything about it because we've got nukes.
Right, so, but you're kind of supporting my argument that
you're going to say that
the underlying asset, it's no longer gold. It's the economy.
ICBMs are the underlying
the economy, right? And so like for instance, if you look at Japan or South Korea or some of these countries that advance very quickly economically, the strength of their currencies rose with the economy, right? And relative to other currencies, they became more valuable. So that is what underpins fiat.
That's fair. You're right.
But that's where I'm coming from.
Because you're right.
So this notion that we're just making
maybe
this
that's
shit up
the point, Rob, is the fact
false.
The fact that the U.S. just prints money when things get tight is like, when will that turn around and kick us in the ass? And
no, it does,
because we can't right now. We're living in inflationary times, and we've got money was thrown at everyone. I mean, I didn't think that our family qualified for some of these funds, and we got funds for our kids. We got a big old a $5,000 check for our family, and we were like, "Why did we get this?"
Did you just say that you got a $5 million check for your family?
$5 million.
Million.
But I'm like, what in the hell? Like, why
We're
am I
desperate.
getting?
We're starving out here in Bandera on the ranch.
Exactly. I'm like,
I need a check for $5 million.
And that's what my husband was saying. He's like, this is so ridiculous.
Yeah,
why are they sending us money?
And it's a complete reflection on the vitality of an economy and the direction it's going. To your point, the currency is important, because if you have a strong economy, your currency is strong, right? If you have a weaker economy, it goes down. And then what you were talking about, Rob, about the EU, that's the big problem, is you have these different nation states that are under a similar currency, but each of the economies of these nation states is totally different. And the poor, less competitive countries have to suffer a strong currency. And that actually, for that region, works against them. So I'm telling you, anybody who sits there and says that the fiat is just based on BS is like, no, there's no evidence of that. We have economies, they are reflective of the economy, and that's why a dollar has value. I mean, that's the answer, is because it has that economic gravity that allows it to have value.
Economic gravity. That's the takeaway, folks.
So going back and
I thought the takeaway was the fact that we were in
I
the
don't even
middle
know how
of a
we-
fecal
how we go.
fight. The
what,
fecal fight.
fecal fight.
Because you're talking about shit.
Yeah, I like fecal.
Also,
fight.
going back to before we started talking about this thing unrelated to IoT, and you talked about the crystal balls and everybody. How did the analysts? How did people miss the IoT thing so badly? I do want to give props to our good friend Matt Hatton over at Informa. But previously, when they were Machina, Machina, before they were acquired by Gartner, I feel like they were the only guys who were literally giving a realistic view of where IoT was going to go in the numbers. Whereas everybody else was saying 50 billion, 50 billion, So anyway, props to Matt and all those folks there. Gosh, I remember those guys before they were acquired by Gartner, Godfrey, Chow, and some other guys.
Yeah.
Great
Andy
people,
Cassidy, I know those guys.
Very well respected in the IoT.
very pragmatic, had a very realistic view of where IoT was going to go, unlike all the crazy people,
Yeah. Well, the thing is that people still, even today with IoT, define it in a lot of different ways. One person, a friend of mine, was saying, well, it's all about connections, but it's not all about connections either, right? And so it's intelligence, it's the sensors, and what a metric that you use to represent growth is really difficult to actually define, given how diverse IoT is, right? And then
the definition I teach to my master students of IoT, Leonard, is about IoT. You know the definition that I use. I define.
No, I'd love to know. I mean, no, this stuff is good, man. I mean, because what?
I define IoT in 3 words.
Okay.
Show me the money. 4 words. Sorry.
Show me the money.
No, but that's not the point. You have to get the other part. Yeah. That will show me the money.
Show me the money.
No, but maybe that's it. That's why you guys don't think that IoT has arrived yet, or there is no IoT, is because of the money. But you have to start with number one. You're looking at technologies that help you instrument, connect, and sense things. And if you can't get to the point where you're actually designing solutions that create your value for your customers, you're never going to see the money. And that, I think, if you ask me what the big problem is, that's still the big problem. So things. I had a talk with executive on this topic of IoT, and I said, you guys focus too much on developers. You have to focus on people who have the actual purse strings. Developers have no money, and who gives a crap if you have a huge developer community and none of them have any money and they're just like screwing around with the tech, hoping to get a job at a company that might actually give them a project for IoT.
I don't know. AWS, Belina, and these companies are so the target audience are developers. Not sure.
Sure, I know, but is it working? Because you know what? AWS doesn't split out their IoT numbers. So we actually don't know how much.
I'm not talking about the IoT product at all on AWS or Azure or similar platforms, but.
Yeah, but no, they have a lot of other crap that they're selling. Basically on device. They're selling.
Leonard's not going to get invited to the next AWS event now.
Yeah. Well, they love me.
AWS invent whatever.
They love me.
Oops. Yeah, don't forget what Steve Ballmer said. Developers. How many times have you heard Bill Gates or others say developers create the air we breathe? Developers actually do have all the power and they have all the money. In case you forgot, just watch The Matrix to remember who's in charge now. It's the developer.
Oh, it's Neo, right? Yeah. Thanks for the reminder.
It's code.
But that's the weird thing is when I keep kind of my eye on all of the bigger IoT companies and all the way to the startup IoT companies, and they're hiring what kind of positions that they're hiring for. Most of all of them are hiring developers and engineers and the technical guys, not the go-to-market guys, the front-facing guys, the executives.
Maybe they solved that.
They solved it.
No, but see, that's one of the big questions I had for the Helium network is, okay, who's the sales force? And then, I had this one dude go,
it's a network. Who's the sales force for AT&T?
So a network that is only going to sustain itself if it actually generates revenue. And it should not come from people who are buying gateways. It shouldn't come from the guys who are staking HNTs and serving as validator. It shouldn't be none of that. Where's the money?
Remember the sign of intelligence.
And who's going to sell? Who's going to sell the trillions of data credits that are going to be needed to float this thing? Is the question everybody should be asking.
Yes. But before that, you need coverage. I had this problem, for example, with Sigfox at the beginning of Sigfox. So there were tons of companies who wanted to deploy their sensors, but there were no coverage. And it was like, oh, sorry, I am not going to buy these thousands of sensors because there is no coverage where I'm going to send my devices.
Yeah.
Right.
What should we do? So call Sigfox, say, can you install a base station, these and there? I can send the locations from of the warehouses of my customer. So it's a neck chicken problem, but what's better? So you're not going to have customers if you don't have coverage. And of course, the other way around it's as well.
So where's your sales force? Are you guys hiring salespeople that actually know how to sell the network and stuff? Huh?
I don't work at Helium.
I'm
just defending IoT companies too.
But guys like you have bought the gateways. You're operating nodes in the network.
I didn't buy any gateways. Sorry.
Have you asked? Have you asked Helium? Where's the sales network folks who are going to be selling the actual network services?
But
no one's asking that question, dude. I'm telling you.
So let's change. So for NB-IoT, for example.
They want to make.
No, let's go for NB-IoT telco company. Where is their sales army for NB-IoT projects?
They have huge ones.
Who do the sales?
IoT business groups.
It's people that used to sell wireline. People that used to sell wireline and broadband connectivity are now selling IoT.
No, I totally know what you're talking about, Marc. There's a volume dial that we have here. And so your need for marketing and sales depends on what you're selling. Some things require a whole lot of marketing to convince people to buy it because it's not something that you just innately want to buy. On the other side, there are things where they say, I'm going to give you a bunch of tokens and you're going to get rich if you buy this. And people are like, yeah, I'm going to get rich. I'm going to buy a Helium gateway. And so they don't need a sales force because the value prop, at least as advertised, is I'm going to get the hookup by having a gateway. And that's a business model. And we can, remember, a sign of intelligence is you need to be able to hold two contradictory ideas in your head at the same time. You can sit here and bash Helium and say it's a Ponzi scheme or whatever, but at the same time, you can also go, oh, that's a clever business model, and we're using people's greed to build the network. Well, it's still a business model.
Let me explain a bit. So
that last point part of the Ponzi scheme thing.
No, a Ponzi scheme. It's using the new customers to give back the money to the previous ones, and I don't understand that on Helium.
That's a pyramid scheme, not a Ponzi.
That's what's happening with
Helium
staking.
Helium, it's a clone of the Things network. It's a clone. It's a simple clone of the Things network.
Yeah.
The only thing is that they reward hotspots owners with the crypto, and that's all. How reward the owners of hotspots is with proof of coverage, because LoRaWAN or LoRa radio frequencies can send data far away, up to 5 kilometers. Not sure on miles. What's that? But that makes a lot of sense to do this proof of coverage. Okay, what's going to happen? And that's my crystal ball. LoRaWAN, it's never going to be like a huge IoT network. Never. It's a niche. Okay, so this is my crystal ball. So Helium, it's gonna use other networks. Okay, Wi-Fi, Zigbee, 5G, and so on.
Yeah.
What happens with these technologies? How do you prove coverage with these technologies? You cannot do it with Wi-Fi because Wi-Fi is 200 meters. But if this Wi-Fi hotspot has a LoRa gateway, a LoRa concentrator on it, it can proof of coverage and demonstrate that this Wi-Fi hotspot, it's there or it's more or less on that area where it's supposed to be. And you are proving that it's creating coverage for a Wi-Fi hotspot. And the same for 5G. How do you prove that this 5G base station it's installed in there? So if there is already a LoRaWAN network in the world, as is today, you can start proving coverage of other type of hotspots with other technologies. And probably 5G, it's gonna bring more money on data credits as LoRaWAN, that it doesn't explode, but for anyone, I guess. So that's, I think, why they are going to use the LoRaWAN network, not for IoT, as I'm not sure it's going to explode for that, but for proving coverage for other technologies.
That's interesting.
That's my crystal ball hypothesis.
Okay.
That's good. That's
No,
good.
I mean, there's a lot of merit to that.
Marc, would you have any advice for our friends at the Things Network on how they should compete against Helium, or if they should compete?
Yeah, I had a lot of some conversations with Vinke about that. I don't think it's about competition. I think it's a collaboration. Okay, so if you're a company and you want to use a LoRaWAN network, I think you can start with the Things Network. If there is no coverage of the Things Network, that it's free, you can go to Helium. On the other hand, if you want a more professional LoRaWAN network, then you can go to the Things Industries. And then you can jump on that. So create the ecosystem. Don't compete. Don't say, hey, we are competing. If you are Helium, I don't want to talk with you. No, I think that's wrong. We have to create this win-win relationship. And if Helium success, the Things Industries and the Things Network will succeed, I guess. That's my point. So then the other thing that it's really interesting that you need to take into account is that a lot of LoRaWAN companies, in the world, there are a lot of LoRaWAN telcos in countries. But the good part of having Helium is that they can start doing roaming through Helium network to their telco. So the problem that I had with Sigfox, but they did it really well and really fast. I have this customer and I don't have LoRaWAN connectivity from your company, but there are Helium hotspots. Why we cannot do roaming? So they are enabling that, and that's, for me, that's really interesting to use Helium as a roaming network and redirect the LoRa packages through their network and to make the business happen. So if we make these win-win relationships, I think this is going to be really interesting.
Yeah, and I think that's what's happening.
Then another discussion is the price of the token, the crypto wall, and so on. I don't know. I never talk about that. No, I think I never did. So there is a reward. I don't care the price. I don't care anything. I don't know if it's fair or not, the price. I don't discuss about that.
Right.
But it's creating value, at least at the moment. So why tell shit about kind of value?
I don't know. I mean, there's people who are telling really ridiculous stories about this thing.
Much love to Marc. Marc,
no, I totally agree. That's what's happening.
People.
It's useful but that doesn't absolve folks from asking the question and solving the problem of how the hell do we make this a viable economic model? And that's where a lot of cryptos collapse. If you can't figure out how to drive money into this thing to sustain it, okay, and you have people who are staking, the last person who's staking is floating the currency, or the last person and the first person who got in is taking money out when things get shitty. You know what? That doesn't make for a sustainable economic model, because that's exactly what the cryptos do. They create an economic model, not just the business model. Business models are specific to each of the, for the folks who host the network. You have the business model for the people, different participants, whether you're a validator or an actual node operator. So those are all things you have to talk about. And I only simply say that because these are the reasons why I've seen a lot of cryptos fail. And a lot of blockchain, quote unquote, blockchain business models just tank.
Yeah, I understand these questions, but companies have to take decisions, and you have to think that Helium probably it's one of the biggest blockchain technologies nowadays. They have more than 500,000 nodes on the blockchain, and that's not easy. It's sometimes it's a technology that for scaling it's really hard. So they made this move from having the blockchain in all the hotspots to the validators, and they're forcing the validators to stack the money. That's a decision. You can agree or you cannot agree, but I mean, it doesn't. I don't know. I don't have any. I can have my point of view, but
my only point is that it used to be have like a $4 billion market cap. Okay, and somebody has to figure out who. My point is this: who the hell? Where is the sales force that's going to generate the revenue? That's a simple question. And there's a lot of people who are afraid.
Yeah, I think so. My crystal ball for this 2022, it's that the sales army will be 5G telcos in the US.
Well, that or not every business entity or business, it has a business model where there are salespeople, Leonard.
Huh?
You think about Uber. There are no salespeople. It's the drivers. So, I mean, maybe we're overthinking this because we're thinking about the typical business model where you have a product and then you have salespeople and you have marketers. Maybe it does. Maybe this business model doesn't set up that way.
Well, if people actually went out and bought networks, but in IoT, people don't buy the connectivity is just like the cheapest part.
Yeah.
People would much rather just say, no, I don't want to spend the rest of the money on the consulting and all the other stuff that's actually
just like with some of these smart city solutions where there's no money that's being exchanged, but there is a service that's being provided is because they find other things of value to exchange, but no money's being exchanged.
Right. But
there are some no dollar value or no currency exchange solutions. There's some give and take. So I don't know. That's why I'm like, maybe we're overthinking that. Maybe it's not a typical business model that ends up coming out of this that we're not thinking about today.
Yeah, but those are never free, right? If it's a public service, then it's tax dollars that pay for it.
It's never free. There's got to be some exchange.
That's what you know what I'm saying. I'm just asking questions, and there's a lot of people who are just afraid.
But it's good to pay taxes,
they think that I'm
right?
talking. I'm bashing.
No, it's not, Marc.
They say that I'm bashing. It's like, no, it's like you're just not addressing the elephant in the room, the pink elephant.
But yeah, I think I already gave this example in previous episodes. But like, let's think on McDonald's. If they put, for example, a Helium hotspot on each McDonald's in the world, they can provide coverage for themselves. So they can start digitalizing the McDonald's with LoRaWAN sensors using their hotspot. And actually, they can have a system that digitalizes all the McDonald's, not only for free, they can make money from that.
Boom.
I mean, I think that's interesting. That's an innovation on the business models.
But you're still not answering the broader question of how does the network make money?
Leonard,
you keep talking about how the node operator.
The network never makes money.
But then
you mean Helium? How Helium makes money? You mean?
How do they make money? And how does the network make money? Meaning,
what does it mean, the network? You mean the token?
It's the data credits.
How the token increases the price, you mean? Or what's your question?
Who gives a crap about
don't get
the price of that? How does revenue come into the network? Meaning the people that are actually paying for the network service. not the people who are going to be not the node operators who are going to get paid HNT for witnessing proof of coverage and stuff like that. That's you're just getting basically who are making money off of whatever the value of the HNT is at the moment. And that's usually being floated largely by the validators and speculators.
I wonder if it's going to look something like reciprocal compensation, where you have all these smaller network providers and these larger network providers, and in the end, there's money being exchanged amongst all of them to run, for them to leverage and use their network. I wonder if there's going to be some kind of exchange like that, where you're talking about the networks making money. I wonder if it's going to be something like that, where there's going to be someone in the middle that's going to be the mediator and balance all of these exchanges.
But that's what Helium is. That's what.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm just saying another entity.
Then there's no purpose for the blockchain. There's no purpose for the crypto. There's no purpose for any of the. See, that's what I'm saying. You guys are like some of the smartest people I know. And you guys are not getting the question I'm asking. And so that makes me wonder, all the other people who they either don't understand this question or they don't want to talk about it. How do you know what the hell you're getting yourself into? And what I'm saying is I've seen enough of these things where I know if you don't start addressing these questions, this thing just collapses. So I'm not being an asshole about this stuff. I'm just asking one very simple
all the hard questions. Yeah.
You're kind of being an asshole.
I am.
Well, for me.
Yeah, the question doesn't have any sense.
Leonard takes this very serious. Me, I'm like, let me see what happens. Let me watch what happens. Let me see if these people actually get their shit together.
It makes for good theater.
And then I might actually start researching and looking more into it. When it's this nascent and there's things floating around that aren't really materializing, I just kind of sit back and watch and see who's doing big things with it, because it's just a waste of my time to dig into it. That's generally the idea that I take. I don't even get serious about something until something sparks my attention. Right now, you're asking the hard questions it seems like in a super nascent space that it's just too early.
Yeah, but
it's going to flush out.
Nascent. So the LoRa ones are probably 10-year-old, right? But
that's not nascent. But there are things.
It's not going to be huge. The LoRa one network. No. So
the business model itself, though, is nascent. Like there is no business model, or it's not an economic model is not sitting there. So that's got to find its way through this system.
So anyway, I can ask the same. So what telco is making money about NB-IoT, right?
I don't know. I don't know if there's any revenue being generated there.
I know, but that's the scary thing. Just because you're trying to create a crypto.
And why don't you tell shit about telcos not making a business from NB-IoT?
Because they're not trying to float a crypto. As soon as they start doing that,
it's crypto. So now I understood. It's when you make a project with a crypto, then you hate it.
No, it's like, how are you going to... No, because it boils down to how are you going to make money? And right now, the question for telcos is how are you going to make money? And so a lot of them pull back and, go, I don't know about this NB-IoT thing. But they also have a broader business portfolio where some of that can get subsidized.
Yeah.
In China... It's basically, they think of it as an element of strategic infrastructure. So there's public funding that it's totally different model. Do you know what I'm saying? But again, but see, the thing is that all I'm trying to do is convince folks like you, stop talking about how much money you're going to make witnessing the network. Talk about how are you going to get your customers to actually buy, because you need to sell through the IoT solution before they even give a shit about the connectivity.
Yeah. And
is that a dumb question? Is that being an asshole? I'm just curious.
No, absolutely not. And I agree that probably 80% of the Helium hotspot owners are crypto freaks that don't have any clue about LoRaWAN. But that's not bad. You are introducing IoT and LoRaWAN concepts into houses that are virgins. So
Yeah.
Glad that is happening.
I like that term, crypto freaks.
Crypto freaks.
Good.
Low raw WAN virgins.
Oh my god. No, hey, dude, this is like an hour and way long. That was fun.
I need to join the Helium community call. Come on.
Okay.
Which you can join as well if you want to learn more.
Raise the question. Raise the question. I already asked Travis this. He didn't really give me an answer, so he's a cool guy.
Some people it's not allowed. Some Helium people is not allowed to talk about
how they're gonna make money.
Tokens.
How are they gonna? That's ridiculous. That I don't think.
No, it's
Don't get him started right now. That's too.
I mean, I'm just saying, investment, even speculation and gambling 101, you ask more questions than what people are asking about Helium. Seriously, even if you're friggin' gambling, you actually at least want to know the odds. People are not even asking about the odds. They're just like digesting some ridiculous BS. It astonishes me. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, let's give some time to see how 5G is going on the US. You're not an asshole.
Such an asshole.
An IoT asshole.
Yeah.
You can be the IoT asshole, IoT giant.
Marc's point about comparing it to 5G, these mobile operators are making the biggest investments of their lives.
Yeah.
They're spending tens of billions of dollars on spectrum. They paid their money to the government. The government's telling them, oh, maybe not near the airports. And and not only do they spend more money than most any company could ever have just to buy spectrum, then there's the infrastructure build out that has to happen, all the back end stuff, higher capacity. It's the biggest money ever spent just about on anything. And guess what? They're all wondering, what's the big question? Where am I going to get my return on this investment from?
Yeah.
Because the people who are subscribers to my networks have already told me I'm not going to pay more for 5G.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm going to keep paying the same.
And
T-Mobile got me hooked on the unlimited and free everything. And so you all have to be. And so, man, that's a giant question. It makes talking about Helium and LoRa seem like just a couple of dollars or something, This is a big money thing. It's crazy.
Yeah, and there's operators out there that didn't go and get high and drunk off the Kool-Aid, that didn't make all the mistakes that almost all of the U.S. operators made.
And some operators didn't go buy entertainment companies and try to be something they weren't.
PCCW said, no, we're not.
Turn around and sell
millimeter wave? What millimeter wave? We're just going to do low band, and then maybe we'll incrementally do mid band, because they have fiber everywhere. They know. I mean, they made good decisions. There's no excuse for stupid decisions. You end up paying.
A lot of stupid decisions.
And a lot of it has to do with going back to what I'm saying is you didn't ask the right questions at the right time, and then you made bad bets. I mean, but when you gamble, at least ask the damn questions that are right in front of your face is my point. And I'm
a real quick risk reward, or what are the odds of you failing or winning? Like in Vegas, if I'm just one person wanting to do Helium, I'm thinking it didn't cost me that much to buy this gateway. And I'm just using a little bit of electricity and I'm putting it right here by my window. Big deal. If I make some money in crypto, great. If it doesn't work out, it wasn't like a big loss to me.
Yeah.
And that's how we're people that are into crypto or investing now. They're like, they start off small. Some folks got real serious with it, but a lot of the investors in crypto are small time investors. They just got a lot of them.
Yeah. Anyways, we got to jump. This is like the longest, actually the longest. This is almost like a movie length.
It was a great chat.
You can trim it down, make it start when I come in.
Not.
There you go.
We're gonna let people suffer through the whole thing
until Stephanie walks in.
Yeah,
what did you say? IoT giant, IoT asshole. I'd say, Rob, you're the IoT inventor, and I'll be the IoT goddess.
Yes, there you go. See, I knew she was gonna either say goddess or diva. But.
No, I have with all my high school girls.
The diva is David.
there's 9 of us girls in high school. We call somebody else started calling us the goddesses, so it stuck, and so we're the goddesses. So on my phone, on my iPhone, when you look at my chat group, I've got one called the goddesses. So
I love it.
Okay, who's going to take us out real quick?
I just did.
Oh, you did? Oh, all right. Okay, we'll see you next week. Take care. Remember, like, share, do all that stuff.
Like, share.
Bye.
Hasta luego.
Bye. Bye, Tiny Leonard.
Aww.